Yeah, the ferry has like a bike rack on it. It's cool.
No, I didn't know. Really?
Take the roll.
Morissette.
Here.
Alms.
Here.
McCormick.
Here.
Mayor O'Connor.
Here.
Weber.
Here.
Hoggett.
Here.
Hall.
Here.
Yeah, right after that. Oh, I'm sorry. I was thinking the roll came before the pledge. Stand for the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, comments and suggestions from the citizens? Anybody? Anybody have anything to say? The crowd. Yes, sir. Step up to the mic, please. Identify yourself, name and address.
My name is Wayne Hanson. I live at 606 Hickory Road up at High Point. And we're here just basically to listen to the proposal from the high school to the city relative to what the plans are for the construction and the new sports complex. There's been a few things that we've emphasized and brought forward both with the school, and they've been very receptive, and also made mention to the city, but we just want to make sure that we follow it closely and those things are taken into consideration.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Anybody else? Any other comments? All right, we'll close that section of the agenda. Take up the consent agenda.
To approve the regular meeting minutes of September 19th, 2016, to approve claims in the amount of $1,146,269.46. Detail is available in the city clerk's office. Contingent on payment of any outstanding debt owed to the city and successful completion of the background check, approve the issuance of a regular operator's licenses for the period of October 5th, 2016 to June 30th, 2018, to Lacey Gleason, William Rickelman, Cecily Ripley, Tyler John, Orion Doman, and Amy Breshnahan, and contingent on payment of any outstanding debt owed to the city and successful completion of the background check, approve the issuance of 2 temporary operators licenses, or it's not 2, more than 2, temporary operator licenses to Gloria Adrian, Chelsea Kelly, Kelly Stichter, Heather Zering, and Nicole Peterson for the Phipps Visual Arts Council event on October 21st, 2016, to appoint the following individuals as unaffiliated election inspectors for a term from October 4th, 2016 through to December 31st, 2017. Ann Stevenson, Linda Keller, Sandra Hoopert, Mary Kay Magel, Sharon Tepper, Diane Erickson, Deborah Hilligans, Robert Hilligans, Nancy Kurjan, Helen McCumbie, and Deborah Andrews, to place on file the EMS Commission minutes of September 27th, 2016, and to approve the renewal of the tax collection agreement with St. Clair County. That is all.
Move for approval.
Second.
A motion second for approval. Further discussion? There is none. Roll call.
Morissette.
Yes.
Hall.
Yes.
Alms.
Yes.
Hoggett.
Yes.
McCormick.
Yes.
Weber.
Yes.
Motion's approved. Discussion and possible action on pedestrian and speed signs on Vine Street.
We were able to meet at Public Works as we said we would last week. Sorry, I'm losing track of time. And we discussed at some length and thought there's 2 things we know we could place for sure. One was the one crossing. We picked a super duper, it's got flashing lights on both sides. It looks like a railroad crossing. There's some in River Falls, and they get your attention. People will stop. And you hit the button, and then you can cross. And since 4th Street, there was good data to support putting one there. So we said that we thought that was a good idea. There wasn't enough data, we thought, to recommend where the second one goes. But we also, the speed control sign, we talked about it, and definitely thought westbound between 6th and 8th. Because when you're coming down the hill, you're picking up speed. The question is it on the hill or at the bottom of the hill where it should be? So we think be somewhere between there would be the good spot. So we recommended both those speed or crosswalk at 4th and speed control between 6th and 8th. We want to collect a little more data with the speed trailer before they do the final location on the speed control. So that leaves the other crossing, which we wanted to get some more data.
Okay, so it's just a little more delay.
Yeah, well, we won't have, right, and they're supposedly wrapping this up mid-October. So we're, I think, well within the timeline to have it completed as part of the project, rather than waiting till next spring or something.
As long as it doesn't get shuffled under the pile,
Right,
get it done.
we'll stay on it,
All right, thank you.
yep.
I'll move we approve then.
I'll second.
Okay, motion second to approve. Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved. Discussion of possible action on Resolution 22-16, awarding the sale of 2016 B $1,885,000 in general obligation promissory notes.
Just a correction, it's actually 2316. I did send that out today, so
Oh, okay.
there's an error.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Hopefully all of you have the report I circulated prior to the meeting. I want to go through the results of the $1,885,000 GO promissory note sale that we've conducted. The bids were due at 10 o'clock today. We did get a number of bids last week, and we did get a couple more this morning. And as you recall, just as a backup, where we started at the meeting I was at about a month ago, the city has an issue outstanding from 2009. That issue is callable, prepayable, refundable on December 1st of this year. We had a lot of success last year doing a local bank, area bank solicitation for the sale of a very similar type issue last year. And in talking about that with Brenda and Devin, thought was we'd go forward with the same approach for this year. And if I can ask the council members to turn to the second page where it says bid tabulation. With the request that we get the proposals back from the local and area banks by 10 o'clock this morning, what you see on the bid tabulation is the 7 bids that we got, which really is a very, very strong number, a lot of interest in the city spread. And they range from the best bid from First American Bank, just below 1%, up to the highest bid at about 2.6%. All the bids very, very respectable. But you can see that winning bid is just really a great, great bid, with being under 1%, fixed interest rate for the last 3 years of this issue. And with this, in the terms and conditions, we did ask the banks that should the city want to prepay this or do another refunding if lower rates were available, you would have that option. So as I talked with Brenda, I think we're very, very, very pleased with the results. And if you can go to the last page, again, this issue is just for one purpose, and that's to pay off the old issue and lock into lower interest rates. What you see on the final page is a comparison with the old debt and the proposed new debt. Old debt had interest rates from 3.5 to 3.7%. Again, the new debt interest rates just below 1% fixed for the last 3 years. The savings each year are approximately $26,000, and that's almost $79,000 in savings over the next 3 years. When we talked about this at the beginning of September, we had used an interest rate of about 1.75%. Our hope would be 1.25%, 1.5%. So really, again, very happy to see this, and the savings are up from about $57,000 up to the $79,000 that you're seeing today. What would be needed this evening for the council to lock into this proposal from First American is approval of the bond sale resolution that the bond attorney had put together, and I think you've got that. There was I think in your packet, a draft amendment. All the blanks have been filled in with that best bid from First American. But before taking action on that, if Mayor of the Council, if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer those.
Sean, do you usually see a disparity like this great between the top and the bottom?
On an issue like this, Mayor, with looking at it from bank standpoint, yes, we do see where there can be some widespread approaches as to what are they looking for and how they're seeing the market. So I was a little surprised, but I can tell you in seeing some other bank bids, we've seen plenty of other bank bids that are closer to that 2 to 2.5%.
Right.
So that's why I was saying all of them are respectable bids. We're just very happy to get the best one.
Yeah, okay.
Move we suspend the rules.
Motion second to suspend. Roll call?
Hackett.
Yes.
McCormick.
Yes.
Weber.
Yes.
Alms.
Yes.
Hall.
Yes.
Morissette.
Yes.
Okay, motion's approved.
Move to adopt resolution 2316.
Yes, thank you.
Second?
Motion and second to adopt resolution 23-16. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved. Thanks, Sean.
Yep, thanks,
Nice
Mayor.
job.
Thank you, council.
It's pretty awesome. Discussion and possible action on bids received for fire department consulting services. Scott?
Honorable Mayor, common council members, I believe everyone was in attendance for the Finance Committee meeting. So in the due of time, and we have a full agenda, if you have any questions, the recommendation was from the Finance Committee to move forward with the study for $8,250. But I'd entertain any questions now if anybody has any.
And the funds would be coming from contingency.
I'll move to approve the needs assessment to 5 Bugles.
I'll second.
Okay, motion second for approval. Additional discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your continued support of the fire department and public safety. It's been a lot of help, and we continue to look forward to getting some of this stuff done. Thank you.
Sounds good, bud. Thank you. Discussion of possible action on an application from St. Croix Grill LLC doing business as St. Croix Grill for a Class B beer and Class B liquor license for the property located at 417 2nd Street, and their request for an extension of the timely startup provision.
As was discussed at the Finance Committee and their recommended approval, you'd be approving a Class B licensed liquor and malt beverage for 417 2nd Street, which is currently Ellie's on Main.
I'll move to approve.
Second.
Motion second to approve.
And there'd be the additional,
Contingent on
all those things.
the, yeah, well, all those things.
And then also then the premises
Description of the
description
license
will be
plate.
included on the motion.
Yep.
Okay, motion second. Further discussion? All those in favor?
Was there a second?
Yeah, there was.
Oh, I'm sorry, Randy, I didn't hear you. Thank you.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved. Discussion and possible action on fuel bids.
As was discussed at Finance, the lowest bid was received from Countryside Cooperative at 10 cents above the market rate. It's a one-year contract. Finance recommended approval.
I'll move to approve.
Second.
Motion second. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved. Discussion and possible action on certified survey map, two industrial lots, southeast quadrant of State Trunk Highway 35 and Hanley Road, Northern States Power.
Is Danny back there?
Denny's not here.
No, Danny?
He was here.
It was passed out of
Plan
Plan
Commission.
Commission.
Periods.
Good evening, Danny.
First item is the certified survey map, 2 industrial lots at southeast quadrant of State Trunk Highway 35 and Henry Road, Northern States Power, Wisconsin's making a request for the CSM approval. Plan Commission recommends approval of the 2-lot certified survey map as proposed by Northern States Power, Wisconsin, with the condition that sanitary sewer and water services be provided to both lots prior to recording the CSM, or at Northern States Power enter into agreement that the service must be constructed as a condition of development plans for Lot 1, which is the new service center, or the sale of Lot 2. I've been informed recently, within the last week, that Northern States Power proposes to install the services when the services for both lots when the development plans for the new service center goes, so it'll be this fall most likely. So with that, what I'm recommending is approval of the certified survey map with a condition that the city will hold the occupancy permit for the new service center as leverage or surety that the service for Lot 2 is put in. I think, because they're going to be going in, I think that Northern States Power, XL Energies worked very closely with the city on a couple of different projects very recently, and I think my trust in them to do this with the surety it will hold the building or the occupancy permit for the service center until we're assured that the services go in. They have to put the services in for Lot 1 to serve the service center, so.
It's
goes
more
hand in
efficient
hand.
to do it this way?
Pardon?
It's more efficient to do it this way?
This is common sense.
Yeah. I'll move to approve.
Second.
Motion and second to approve. Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved. Discussion possible action on final development plans, commercial building lot 7, Hudson Center, 2181 Badger Drive, Hudson Center Holdings LLC.
Plan Commission recommends approval of the final development plans for the 8,487 square foot commercial building and site improvements as proposed by Hudson Center Holdings LLC, with the condition the revised patio plans be submitted for city staff approval when the plan submittal for the Panera Bread unit build out is submitted. Again, this is a commercial multi-tenant structure and parking lot that's being proposed in the Hudson Center, what many of you may know as the former visitor center site. And they hope to get construction started this spring. One of the tenants will be Panera Bread and Bakery. If you have any questions, Dave Robson from Hudson Center Holdings here tonight to answer any questions.
I'll move we approve.
Second.
Motion second to approve. Discussion?
This is subject to the revised patio plans being submitted and approved?
Yes, please.
That's what my motion was.
As recommended.
Yeah. Good. Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved. Discussion and possible action on a request for a fence permit on city-owned property, Outlot 2, Cuds Golfview Edition by Shannon Metzler, 1728 Laurel Avenue.
Now, Shannon and Paul Melzer live at 728 Laurel Avenue. They came in and asked for a fence permit. They were not aware that there's a combination of properties adjacent to the property. There's a 17th Street right-of-way, and then there's a 20-foot park area adjacent to the right-of-way area, then their lot. And I'm recommending that this Common Council allow them to build a fence within that 20-foot area. There's a sidewalk that runs on the west side of their house. The fence would be set back a minimally of 1 foot east of the sidewalk area. If you get to that, even though you're still on city property, what exists is about 5 or 6 cedar trees. And underneath the cedar trees are exposed roots. So nobody walks in that area. Everybody perceives that area to be basically their property. If you go to the block to the south, that 20-foot city area is reduced to 10 feet. So the fences are, you know, literally about 2 feet east of the sidewalk area. So it'd be consistent along that length of 17th Street where these fences currently exist and where the Melzer fence would be proposed. I do have have drafted a user agreement, which essentially, and I'll give it to Kathy for review. I think the recommendation would be contingent on Kathy's review and approval of the user agreement. But it does stipulate, like we do in other easements, that if the city would need to utilize the property, we would have the right to come back and ask for the fence to be removed and for them to pay the cost of removing the fence. But I just don't foresee any reason why the city would need to go in. There's no utilities in the area, either private or public utilities. The Grass Boulevard area is at least 15 feet wide before you get to the sidewalk. So even if you want to expand the sidewalk area to accommodate, you know, it's 5 feet now. If you want to expand the sidewalk area, you could expand it to the west. So there's plenty of room to do all these different things. Again, what the Melzers are looking for, they got a young family of 2 kids and want to be able to put a small 4-foot fence, more like a picket fence, but to at least have some restraints so balls and things don't roll out into that busy 17th Street area.
I'll move to approve the agreement subject to the usual conditions of the easement.
Second.
Okay, got a motion, a second. Further discussion?
Just a question on the recommendation was 1 foot from the sidewalk.
Well, you know, the 1 foot's the minimum, Jim, I would recommend. I think you could probably go 2 feet and still, you know, the farther back it is, you know, part of the user agreement also stipulates that if damage is done to the property, let's say by somebody walking by or riding a bike, going into the fence, doing damage to the fence, it's not the city's responsibility, it's the Melzer's responsibility to fix the fence. You know, setting it back an additional foot to 2 feet, you know, I don't have an issue with that. There is room to be able to do that.
Yeah, because we had an incident up on Vine Street on one of the streets or fences that's really close to the sidewalk. A girl hit that with a bike handle and broke her
So
wrist.
if you want to go to 2 feet, I have no concern
That
about
would
that.
be my recommendation.
Yeah, that's fine.
So take that as an amendment?
Sure, that's fine.
You good? Who seconded it?
I did,
John?
yeah, I'm good with that, sorry.
Okay. Okay, so revised motion, second, further discussion?
Denny, are you talking, or gonna talk to them about, do they want to buy this outlot?
Well, she originally talked to me about that possibility. You know, I explained to her, she wants to, her and her husband want to get the fence up this fall if possible. To go through the process of disposing property, particularly park property, is a much lengthier process. And I explained that to her, and I said, perhaps this might be the first step, as the city council was agreeable to do the user agreement, followed by the possibility, if they would like to have the city consider disposing of the property. Now, in my opinion, the city would not dispose of all the property because the sidewalk's partially in that 20-foot area. But, you know, the area that's where the trees are at, where the roots are at, it's not really usable for the purpose that is originally dedicated. At least at this time, I would not have. But there's a process that they have to, Kathy and I would have to take the city through to get the original party that dedicated the property to agree to the potential disposal of the property. So it takes longer, and I just felt trying to get approval just for that, they would never get the fence up until next spring.
Makes sense.
Anybody else? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
Thank you, Denny. Motion's approved. All right, next on the agenda, we have an update from the Hudson School District. Superintendent Ouellette had asked if they could come in and give us just an idea of what's going on. This is not the actual proposal. This is just informative to get the council up to speed on what's going on so far. And I would also like to add that this is not a question and answer period for people that are here in the audience. This is strictly informative. That's not to say that council members can't ask questions. Okay? Superintendent.
So we've put together a 2-hour presentation. No, I'm kidding. Really, I'm just here to introduce some of the folks that they're going to be talking to you briefly, give you an opportunity to ask questions. This is a pretty major project in the city. I think, you know, investing $85 million into at least 43 acres is probably one of the largest investments or construction projects that we've had in the city. And so we wanted to kind of give you a heads up of what's going on and what we're doing. The people that can do that much better than I can are our architects from Bray Architects, and then also our civil engineers from Point of Beginning. So I'm going to turn it over to them. They're going to have about 5 to 10 minutes and then open up for any questions that you have.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Jim Lundberg with Point of Beginning. I'm the lead civil engineer on the project, and I just want to give you a brief overview of the site plan as it relates to access points, parking, stormwater, and athletics. So we're proposing 2 access points out on Divine. One would be at the existing location at Wisconsin. The other would be lined up with the roadway going to the residential area there.
Can pull that mic. Mic out.
Perfect. Thank you. So we would have 2 access points, like I said here. The parking would be laid out in a formation where student parking would be in the front of the building. We're proposing a total stall count of roughly 1,000 stalls, 850 roughly of which would be student parking out in the front. In the rear, we would have staff parking back here. Another feature to the rear of the school would be the bus drop-off. So the parent drop-off would be up in front here. Bus drop-off would be back here. We would provide some parking spots for the buses to pull in, and then they would pull straight out. This was designed in this fashion to reduce the amount of traffic that goes through the residential development, so we would minimize that to just the staff and the buses. So 100% of the students would be parking in the front. Some of the other features to the site is the new athletic stadium. We would have football, soccer, track. Some of the field events would be on the northeast side of the stadium, and the throwing events would be over here, jumping events. We're kind of working with that configuration right now with the jumping events and some of the track and field events, but this is essentially the area in which those activities are going to take place. The northwest corner here would feature, at this point, would just be a general green space. We are proposing a turf area, artificial turf, but it would just be purely used as activities, practice fields at this point. And we would develop that, like I said, in artificial turf. Stormwater management, we're exploring some different options, but right now targeting a potential wet detention pond at the entry that would not only act as stormwater management, but would also act as a water feature as you enter into the site. Possibly some fountains, and we're working out some of the details there, but that is one target stormwater management area we're discussing. The others would be actually in the artificial turf area. The soils are conducive to infiltration, so we would look at maybe adding some additional storage below those artificial turf areas with some drainage stone to promote infiltration and minimize the volume of runoff coming off of the site. Tennis courts, there are existing tennis courts here to help provide a little more space for the student parking. We are proposing to shift those to the north. That allows for additional parking, and it allows for a safe travel around the corner of the school. Currently, it's tight up against the corner of the building, makes for an unsafe vehicular traffic turn there, so we're hoping to alleviate some of that safety issue. And then from fire department, we've met with staff, met with the fire chief, discussed some different options as far as the fire truck access, and we are proposing to allow a 20-foot minimum access all the way around the entire building to allow for fire protection. I think with that, if I haven't missed anything, but open it up for questions or comments.
I've got a couple questions for you. How far is the west driveway from the curve on Vine Street?
Well, to give you a sense of distance, these parking stalls here are about 243 feet. So I would say roughly 300 feet from the property corner to the access point.
How many cars do you think will be exiting out of that? How many vehicles will be exiting out of that onto Vine Street?
That detailed study really hasn't been done yet, so I don't know that I have an answer for you as far as number of cars that would be exiting. This parking lot right here would be roughly 400 cars. So I would anticipate that those vehicles would exit.
And it's also people dropping off
Correct.
their children. Have you heard concerns expressed by the neighbors to the south of Vine Street about the location of that exit?
I am aware that there are some concerns, yes.
And how do you address those concerns?
We'll work through those concerns, take a look at, work with city staff on traffic counts and turning movements and work some of the details out. That is definitely one topic of discussion that we actually just recently had with city staff, and we want to make sure we work those details out.
When do you think you'll have a vehicle count?
I
think one of the questions that we had was an actual traffic study. I think talking with Denny, once we submit our plan, we'll have to work through that, and if the study is needed or not. But right now, obviously, with the parking lot, like Jim was showing you, there's 400 stalls. If the parking lot is full, you will have all 400 of those cars coming out onto the road. So.
And one of the things when we first started looking at this project from a staff perspective, one of the items that I mentioned to the consultants and also to the school district was the possibility of the city requiring a traffic analysis. The meeting last week, I don't think, at least from this access point, we're going to go ahead and authorize our traffic engineer to take a look at that. So we're more proactive rather than waiting to a formal submittal to the city on this particular issue. We're going to proactively take a look at that. So hopefully that issue is resolved before they submit. So where an access stays at that point or gets moved. But it's, one of the things will be a public safety review of that proposed access.
Thanks, Denny.
One of the things working with the district too that they've always.
Get you go up to the mic, please. Thank you.
My name is Scott Grahalski. I'm with Point of Beginning. One of the things that we talked about throughout is the landscaping and screening and doing as much as we can to protect the neighborhood from the parking, leaving as many trees as we can, around the edges, yet knowing that we have to try to maximize the space, to use the site to its fullest. So that has been clear with Nick throughout, is that he was very sensitive with the neighbors, and we're keeping that in mind. So,
are there enough parking spots that every student who wants to park on campus will be able to do that?
So this will be increasing the student parking stalls by about 400 from what we have now. So the way we would look at it is if we still needed expanded parking, we would still try to lease space as we do now from St. Pat's across the street. Our goal is to take and alleviate the pressure off the side streets that happens right now with our kids parking, and then what happens is they permit parking, so then it pushes another block out, and then it's permit parking, and it just kind of works its way out. So our goal is to become better neighbors by parking more of our cars on the street. We think we should be in a pretty good spot, but it's hard to know exactly whether or not we'll have perfect amount of parking every day for every child.
Do you have an estimate of how many students are parking on the streets now?
It really depends on time of year, and it tends to.
In the spring, there's more.
Yeah, there's always more because as the new drivers get their licenses that semester and things along those lines. So, yeah, we don't have an actual count. We just basically look at, we currently are leasing how many spots, Tim? Do you know? From
I think we're under 200.
Just under 200 spots from St. Pat's, which has helped things. But again, we'll continue to, if they'll allow us to lease those spaces plus the spaces that we have on site. So it's really kind of a tough count, but we think we should have plenty of parking on site.
Other questions?
I think it's important to note, with the lineup of the drive and things like that. Again, we're willing to accommodate the city however the traffic consultant thinks we need to do that. This plan is a result of a great collaboration with city staff. They've been great to work with. Denny and his team have been really, really good to work with. We've had, I think, 3 or 4 meetings now in the last 6 months, just kind of bouncing things off of them. That's why you see the student parking on the south side of the building instead of the north side, with only bus parking on the north side. We're also going to take our buses from 34 buses down to 10 buses on site, and we're going to be doing some transfers at the middle school site to improve things as well. So we think that'll help traffic flow. So although people don't always like buses either, it's a matter of trading hundreds of student cars for staff cars and some busing. The northern portion of our boundary will be gated access, so that's how we'll assure that it is staff only and bus only. It'll require card access to get onto that part of the property during the day, so it should drastically cut down the number of cars traveling in those neighborhoods, and that was a direct response to some of the feedback we got from city staff just preliminarily.
What has changed since you presented this? You had a presentation at the high school a month or 2 ago. What's changed other than like the entrances?
Probably the biggest change that's happened is, the tennis courts have been shifted north. Okay. And what it has done is it allowed us to recoup some additional parking on the south side there. Our tennis courts are in really bad shape, as you've maybe seen if you've been over there. So we're fortunate enough to solve our stormwater issues, our parking issues, and kind of the byproduct was being able to redo the tennis courts in the process. So that was not originally what we were planning on doing, but that's probably the thing that's changed the most. The stadium has been in the southeast corner since the board decided to have us start putting out drawings in January. So it's kind of always been there. Prior to the referendum, we had more parking on the north side, and we've pushed more of that to the south side again, getting feedback from staff and city staff and things like that. But otherwise, for the most part, since the last community meeting, this is pretty similar. I mean, there's little tweaks here and there, fire lane widths and dimensions and things like that, but it's pretty much what we've been trending all along.
Other questions? Nick, thank you very much. Appreciate you guys all coming in. Thank you for the update, and
appreciate it. We'll be back in a few months for final approval, but we do appreciate it. If you ever have questions, feel free to give me a call or drop me an email, and I can, obviously, if I can't answer, we'll pass it on to one of the gentlemen that absolutely can. So thank you very much.
All right, thanks.
Thank you. That October 18th groundbreaking at the middle school is happening, and so we would welcome anybody and everybody to come to that project. It's somewhat the project that people kind of forget about a little bit. It is still a $9 million project, so it's a large project, but that is happening October 18th at the middle school at 6 o'clock. We'll be groundbreaking there, and that project will be underway then. So thank you.
Thank you. All right. So, I don't have anything for anybody. Anybody else?
Yeah, this Saturday is our 3rd annual Fall is for Planting, City of Hudson. We've doubled our gravel bed nursery up at the West Garage from 40 trees to about 80 or 90 trees that we'll take out and plant around the city at some of the schools and then some in North Hudson. This is part of our grant process to expand trees in the urban forest and then raise awareness for emerald ash borer, and starts at 9 o'clock at the West Garage, and we're providing lunch and goes from 9 till 3.
And the flyer is on the front page of the city's webpage with more information on it.
Yep. Thank you.
Excellent. Thanks.
Just 2 real quick things.
Go ahead.
Just to let everybody know, we are doing absentee voting here at City Hall. Regular business hours, 8 to 4:30. Up until November 4th, which is the Friday before the election. The Monday before the election, there won't be, so and then that Friday before the election. We also will be doing voter registration. The other thing is a reminder, City Hall is closed tomorrow because we don't have water or restroom facilities. However, we will have staff here to handle any election, because we did advertise we would be open for that. So we will have a couple of staff members here to handle election activities. But otherwise, the rest of the city offices will be closed tomorrow.
And the park board is meeting here at 5:30.
Right, and the water's supposed to be, park board is meeting, the water's supposed to be back on by, later in the day, so. Thank you.
Devin, how are you last meeting, you talked about the need for more inspectors. How?
I think we enrolled 8 or 9. One of them is unable to work. We've had some of them that are only able to work half days, which is fine. So at this point, we won't have split tables at the polling places, but we're going to try to have information people, which we've done in the past, right when you come in the building. So hopefully they'll be able to direct traffic to get people to the right line so that people aren't waiting in line. So we've got anybody that has trained and has expressed availability will be working that day. So we'll have plenty of subs and plenty of people to work in, but we just didn't get enough. We needed 18 more people, so we just didn't get quite that many in order to split the tables.
If more people,
Can
you handle the training?
There's a deadline with the state, which I believe is next week, that we have to have the inspectors. But I'll send an email out to the council if we're able to. I had a couple people call after, but I think the deadline is coming up when we can appoint inspectors, so. But I'll send an email out to verify that. Thank you.
Anybody else? Entertain a motion?
I'll move to go into closed session,
Oh, what did I miss?
unless it's not supposed to be on there.
No, that's there.
Is that,
That's for the Excel.
sure, but how did that, oh, there we go.
On the back.
Got it. Okay, sorry about that. All right, motion to go into closed session?
Second.
Roll call?
Hall.
Yes?
Hoggett.
Yes.
Alms.
Yes.
Weber.
Yes.
Marset.
Yes.
McCormick.
Yes.
Motion's approved. We're in closed session.
You good? Okay, it's good.
All right, back in open session. Is there a motion?
I'll move to approve the offer to purchase 1201 Livingston Road as discussed in closed session.
I'll second.
Motion a second. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved.
Move to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Stand adjourned. Thank you, everybody.